I'm Rod Boss. Let's have fun. Welcome to the joy of mini painting. Happy little minis. In this video, I will demonstrate how I paint a 28mm scale Viking miniature to a tabletop standard. In this case, a Vanir Viking warrior from the Conan RPG System's Nordheim expansion. Total painting and finishing time runs about 30 minutes total, allowing for approximate drying time between steps, which is a good time to refill your beverage of choice, work on prepping other minis, and catch up on your podcast of the moment. For my references, I'm using game art, Viking illustrations in my books, online images, television programs, and movie representations to get ideas for coloration and shading for the Viking. My process for this mini is in 7 steps. Steps 1 and 2 are gathering materials, preparing and priming the mini. Step 3, base colors. Step 4, shading. Step 5, details. Step 6, highlighting. Step 7, basing and applying final finish. I use quality brushes. For this miniature, I will use a number 0 flat and a 000 detail brush. I use an X-Acto knife, Citadel mini holder, mold line remover, and water pot to rinse out my brushes. For miniature paints, I'm using the range of colors I currently have from Citadel Army Painter Vallejo Game Color and the Reaper Master Series. For this Viking, I'm sticking pretty much with Army Painter war paints. Specifically, I'm using Barbarian Flesh, Fur Brown, Oak Brown, Leather Brown, Desert Yellow, and Void Shield Blue. To lighten the colors, darken them, and mute them, I'm using Army Painter Matte White, Matte Black, and Ash Gray paints. For metallics, I'm using Army Painter Weapon Bronze, Gunmetal, and Shining Silver. For my washes, I'm using Blue Tone, Flesh Wash, Dark Tone, and Light Tone. Of course, I have my plastic palette, paper towels, Q-tips, and tweezers close by. You may also wish to use a magnifying lens, and be sure to have an efficient light source or sources. Taking my prepped and primed model, I first paint the solid colors on the mini using the number 2 round brush. I'm making sure not to put the paint on too thick, which would obscure the detail on the mini. I can mix the paint with some flow improver or a drop or 2 of water to thin it. I'll need at least 2 coats. It's better to have multiple coats than to put the paint on too thick. Shading is an important step to blend the transitions between colors. Here, I'm applying Army Painter Quick Shade washes, Blue Tone, Flesh Wash, Dark Tone, and Light Tone with a 0 flat brush. I apply it liberally, making sure to use my brush to pick up the shade where it pools. I could use a Q-tip sparingly in certain areas if I want to wipe off a little paint in the areas of the mini that would receive the most light, only if I felt this was necessary. For this step, I am applying the details on the model with a 000 brush. I'm going back in to paint the details and revitalize the colors which may have been muted by the shading stage. I am careful to leave the shading transitions in the recesses and creases. I'm now going to highlight a few of the extreme edges of the model. I'm being very careful to apply the highlight and detail colors to areas. Less is definitely more. I try not to obscure any of the shading effect by only concentrating on the flat and top highlights and edges where light would hit. Now I coat the base with PVA glue, sprinkle construction sand onto it, and shake off the excess. I then use tweezers to place the rocks and grass tuft with drops of glue. To finish the miniature, I apply Vallejo Model Color black paint to the edge of the base and give the model a protective spray of matte varnish. And here the finished tabletop-ready Viking warrior stands proudly on the deck of his ship. Break out the character sheets and let the raids begin. I'll repeat this process until I complete the rest of this raiding party of 12 models. Okay, I'm back from the 80s. That was quite a trip.